Hi, good morning, everybody. Got some things I'd like to share with y'all. I'm just start off by saying that it's probably a pretty familiar verse to a lot of us. It's Hebrews 11:11, and it's talking about faith. And I've been trying to think a lot about faith and what it means, and good examples of faith. Of course, we see examples all throughout the Bible and of people who had faith and held on strong to what God had told them and what Jesus had told them. The verse I'm reading is Hebrews 11:1, and it is, faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. It gives us the assurance about things we cannot see. And faith, we can use that. We can have faith in so many different things. We have faith that God is who He says He is, and that Jesus done what He said He was going to do, and we have faith in these things because that's what we hope for. It's the hope that it's the confidence that what we hope for will actually come true. And all of us, we know these things are going to come true. We have faith that God is an honest God, and that's who He says He is, and He's going to keep His word. And the things that we study and the things that we read, we have faith in that. And a good example of that is in Joshua chapter 14, I believe it is. It's a story of where Joshua had taken over after Moses, and he's earlier in this, in Deuteronomy, I believe it was, they sent some spies, a spy from every tribe of Judah, and there was two guys out of those 12, a guy named Caleb and a guy named Joshua, which Joshua ended up being the story of the walls falling down at Jericho and the Israelites taking the promised land. That was Joshua. He was leading them. But the other spy in there that was faithful was Caleb. There was Joshua and Caleb and the other 10. But they all go, on the spy journey Moses sends them on to seek the land that God promised them, to see what it was all about. So they take off and they leave through the desert and they go through the hills in 40 days, and they're out here and they're surveying this property, they're surveying this land, and they're surveying this area to gauge the people and see what's going on. And they come back, and the other 10 are giving reports about, these people are giants. The land is milk and honey. It's great. It's everything God promised it to be. But there's giants. We felt that. It actually says that the other 10 spies said that we felt like grasshoppers next to these giants. They were descendants of Anak. Anak, I believe, is how you pronounce it. And which that word actually, Anak, actually means a long neck. So that's kind of sketchy anyway. I don't know why the word actually means long neck, unless these guys looked really creepy. So you can imagine the fear that set in these guys. So these 12 spies come back and they tell Moses and the rest of the Israelites that, we know God promised us this land, but it's not looking good for the home team. So they decide against it, contrary to what Caleb and Joshua suggested. They suggested, hey, let's go, let's take these guys, let's take these long-necked giants, let's do this. God's on our side. They had faith that whole time. Needless to say, they didn't get their way. Fast forward years and years and years and years down the road, 45 years actually to be exact, and Joshua's divvying out the lands to each tribe of Israel, and he's divvying it up to the way God had said. And Caleb comes to him and tells him, whenever I did this, God promised me my inheritance from years ago for being honest, and I would like my inheritance. Well, Caleb allots him the land and the things that God promised him, and Joshua allots this to Caleb. But here's the deal: this property wasn't just mansions and spring-fed and grass and all kinds of stuff. This area, this land that was given to Caleb, still had giants in it. It still had some giants in it. So 45 years later, he's 85, 86 years old right now. He's telling Joshua in that story, he's telling him, I'm stronger now than I was then. I'm just as strong at 80 something than I was at 40 something. And I had faith then that God was going to take care of me, and I got faith now that God's going to, if you give me if God gives me the land that He promised me now, God's still going to help me defeat these giants. He's still going to help me get my stuff that He promised me. So his faith was unwavering from the very beginning, from the start of his walk with God and to the end of his walk with God. And that's how we need to have. We have to have that unwavering faith that God's going to do what He says He did, because God did. God gave him the land. God did exactly what He said. But what I'm getting at is through those 45 years, there was going to be times I would imagine that Caleb thought, well, maybe it was a bad decision. You know I trust God, and I trust that what God says is true, but when's it going to happen? When is it going to go? When is God going to come through with His promise? We all know God keeps His promises. So I tell us this story, so I would like to tell you, if you're waiting to go out, you're waiting to jump out on a limb and do something that God's called you to do, whether it be a ministry, whether it be a job, or any kind of thing, with your marriage, or with even anything. If God's called you to do it, have faith. It may not work out the way we want to, but God's going to use that faith to stretch us. And He's going to stretch us, and we never know the true depths of our faith until it's tested. And it's easy to have faith when things are going good. It's when things are going bad that it's sketchy. So we got to have faith, good and bad times. So keep the faith and realize Caleb went 45 years before things come full circle. And if we can make it 2 years, if Caleb can make it 45 years, by using the power of prayer and trusting in God, we can too. Let's learn from his example. Let's keep the faith, and let's keep doing what God's called us to do. Stay in our word and be obedient to it, and that's going to help strengthen our faith. Don't be scared. God's got us. I hope everybody has a good week. Keep your head up, trust God, and keep praying, and I'll talk to y'all next week.